If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you. It is a wonderful Wednesday. Probably even better because it's wet. 949-8037 and 949-6990. We start things off having a chance to chat about Celebrate Cayman. And then 1 o'clock, well, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But be rest assured, Annika Brown will be your guest. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks so much for sharing with us as we continue in our celebrations of Celebrate Cayman. Honored to be joined by Miss Marzito Borden from the Celebrate Cayman team. Should I say the Celebrate Cayman office? Which would be the best way to say that, Miss Marzito?
Celebrate Cayman team. I mean, Celebrate Cayman is lots of things. It's a small group of people. It's an ideal. It's a philosophy. It's a movement. It's a celebration. It's lots of things. But we just like to say Celebrate Cayman.
There you go. It's something that two things immediately have sort of been very evident. If he doesn't mind, you've sort of recognizing him, Mr. Loxley Banks, not just during the celebrations but prior. Well, we're talking about the need to look at the country and how this could be, in these, I call it the 2 years, an opportunity for us to really, really delve into it. And then it'll be the impetus for going forward on not just an annual basis, but a daily occurrence to be reminded of the great things that are here, that we can celebrate as a people.
Absolutely. And this is the reason why we have approach Celebrate Cayman with lots of different initiatives and projects and activities, because everybody connects to Cayman in a different way. Mm-hmm. Everybody has different perspectives on Cayman, and we wanted people to have a range of choices in terms of how they got to know their country better, and whether that was through music or the arts or food or history or education or community service, which is what we're focusing on this coming weekend. The idea was we wanted people to celebrate Cayman in the ways that meant the most to them, and ultimately hope that everybody felt a bit more love and appreciation for the country and this community and its people as a result of what they enjoyed and participated in.
Something that many of us perhaps still ascribe to. Certainly we've probably heard it, and hopefully it hasn't become a cliche. Too much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. And when we look at, the servant leader, for instance, those people, who in our communities, whether it's the student, whether it's the example being set in the classroom by the teacher, or there's an organization that takes an act of service as a way to not just empower people, but to instill a healthy sense of respect and ownership. There's no better way, to let the greatest among you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we wanted people to realize that you don't have to give a lot to make a big difference, especially because when we all give a little, of course, a little makes a lot, right? And so when it comes to the 60 acts of service, the idea was for us to show that anybody can take a small action and donate their time or their talents or whatever it may be. And collectively, we can join as a community and transform the country in some sort of way. And the hope is that after this weekend, that spirit of community engagement and civic action would continue.
Indeed.
So yes.
One cocoa, they say.
Yes. Yes. No, absolutely.
And that is the thing. You see, we don't realize how important that little thing that we do, and if it's replicated by others, it can have that compounding effect, and it can be, some would say everlasting, others would use the word sustaining. But that's what we do.
Yeah.
Takes two hands to clap.
Yes, it absolutely does. And for people who, may have stood on the sidelines and said, well, I have no idea what kind of project it would be. And then you see the list come out and you're like, oh, well, I could have done that. Or at the end of the weekend, you're like, look at that. Look at the difference that we made. And hopefully you'll continue. And the next time that there's something that needs to be done or that you want to do, having seen other people take small actions will inspire you and give you the confidence to try something as well and to do something.
Well, as we're speaking to Miss Marzita Borden about Celebrate came on and 60 acts of service. Almost sound like one of those challenge competitions in a sense. But tell us about it, because the list isn't exhaustive, but it's exciting.
Yes, it is very exciting, and all the activities are grouped into 7 categories, and they're all inspired by an element of the coat of arms. So we have the lion, which are health and wellness projects, a pineapple, which celebrates public spaces, stars, which are solidarity and community engagement, thatch rope, which are arts and culture, turtle, which is animal welfare, waves is sustainability, including the environment and the ocean, and the motto, which is religion and spirituality. And we're delighted to see projects come forward from nonprofits, from companies that are civic-minded individuals. And it's, like you said, it's an exciting list of projects. And anyone who is listening right now who's like, oh, I want to get involved in some way, you can still sign up. We've kept it open for one more day, but of course, my Caymanian people, you'll probably come to us on Friday evening saying you want to participate, and we won't turn you away. Just not sure how we'll get those lovely project shirts and caps to you. But on our website, we have a list of projects, and I'd obviously like to talk a little bit about some of those projects, and not just to recognize the people who are organizing them, but if anyone's listening, if something stands out to you, of course, we'd want you to participate. So the Cayman KY Eco-Friendly Warriors, they want to recapture small scenic spaces around the island, because their philosophy is that if we get outside more and we are involved in nature more, nature is healing and we can enjoy our natural environment. So they're identifying these little spaces around the island that have scenic views, that are easily accessible, and they want to revitalize them. And they're starting with a spot that probably everybody knows. It's that little wall right next to Mr. Arthur's 7-Eleven on the waterfront. Of course, and you drive by any day, there's lots of people who are sitting on that wall enjoying the sunset. So they're going to revitalize that space a bit. So you can join them. That's happening on Saturday. Another one that's focused in the health and sort of wellness area is a group called Be the Difference, and they want us to, each one to help one. And it's sort of their alternative to the very successful approach of having our many food banks and meal delivery services on the island. They want that we have this spirit ongoing every day. So they're simply saying, please, when you go to the supermarket this weekend, have a bag of items that you know people will likely need. And if you run into someone who, maybe a bit concerned about going to ask for help to a large organization and they just need some support, you pull those little bit of toiletries out of the bag in your car, you pull out the pack of biscuits, the can of soup, and just to give them something there in the moment that'll hopefully give them the support they need right there, but also an exchange of positive support as well. And we have several groups who are doing things around public spaces. We have DART, who's doing 3 activities this weekend. 2 are internal for their team, and 1 is invited to the public. So an internal team project, they are doing some beautification work at the Dart Family Park in South Sound. I know it's a favourite spot for birthday parties, especially that dollhouse and that sort of thing. So that's happening there. The Central Scranton Committee, they're doing a beautification project right at the corner of Dr. Roy's Drive and Shedden Road. There's a monument there, the Georgetown People's Monument, that was done as part of our quincentennial celebrations. And so they're doing some work there, so you can join them if you like. Georgetown South MLA Barbara Connolly has been doing lots of work in the Outpost Street area of Windsor Park. And there's a little pond that's there. And of course, she wants that to make that into an area of rest and relaxation and enjoyment for the people of Windsor Park. So there's some work going on there on Saturday as well. The MS Foundation, another group that said, you know what, there's lots of great public spaces and we want to enhance them a bit. So they are working on what they call South Sound Shade. It's right next to the South Sound Community Centre. The beach that's there, they're putting in some benches, and they're working with a local artist who's going to decorate or adorn those benches with some of his work too. Jason Kennedy, who anyone who's seen his work knows how he brings the faces and the colours and the feeling of the Caribbean alive every time his brush touches the canvas. So I'm excited to see what they do with the benches there. And for our community engagement projects, so many of them, which are wonderful. Again, DART is inviting the community to join them along with Newlands MLA Alva Suku. They are starting the groundwork for a new community park in Newlands in the North Sun Estates area. So you can go and join them. They're going to be removing some shrubbery and debris to get that area started for what will be a new community park for the Newlands area. Our friends over in Kimmenbrack, the KCC Rest Home, they want to transform the front area into what they're calling a garden of love for the elder. So they're putting in benches, stone pathways, some flowers and trees. So go out there and join them. I think our elderly would absolutely love that. The Optimist Club of Georgetown, they are talking about the ABCs of bus safety. It's action because we care is what they've said. And with the increase in traffic on our roads and vehicular activity, the Optimist Club says we need to make sure that everyone stays safe, in particular our school children, because the buses are on the road. Want to make sure everyone respects the road and keep our children safe. So they are talking a bit about how to be better drivers on the road and how to take care of everybody, including our school children. So that's happening as well. The Kiwanis Club of Grand Cayman are doing some reading with children at their bookmobile that's located at the Georgetown Primary School. So, of course, anyone who has little ones who enjoys books or wants to do something with them for a couple of hours, that's there as well. The Jamaica Diaspora Cayman Association, they're painting with a purpose all weekend. It's over 2 days. They are donating what's a $5,000 paint job to the Francis Bawden Children's Home in Lower Valley. And so they're painting that and beautifying that building for them, which will be fantastic as well. The Cayman Islands Crisis Centre, they've taken an interesting and wonderful spin on this project. The Crisis Centre, as we all know, relies heavily upon the support of volunteers and individuals. And so they are taking this opportunity to thank them. So the Crisis Centre is having a volunteer celebration quiz night with games and fun and refreshments. And they're inviting people to come out with them to help celebrate their volunteers and to have a fun night, give them the night off, if you will, to celebrate that. So that's happening on Saturday evening. The Islam community in the Cayman Islands, they are wanting to spread their message of love for all and hatred for none. And they recognize that here in the Cayman Islands, we have over 130 nationalities living here with lots of different beliefs. So they're having a sort of interfaith gathering where it's all about connecting with people who may have different choices and perspectives than you, but realizing that we're all the same. So it's connecting as a community and learning about each other and appreciating each other more as well. In our Thatch Ropes Arts and Culture area, the team at DART, they're taking part of their work day to do a tree planting project up at Mission House. And there's been some plants and trees recently donated, so they're planting them out there in Bawden Town. For our turtle animal welfare area, the Leadership Cayman team, they've already completed their project. They did created new breeding cages for the Blue Iguana Recovery Program last weekend, and they've been sharing photos and stuff of that. So that's been wonderful. And then the Cayman Islands Cabinet Office will be donating a bunch of newspapers to the Humane Society on the weekend as well. As we know, the kennels, they need newspapers so often. So if that's a simple project that anyone out there going, oh, I can do that with my newspapers, you can join the Cabinet Office and go and donate some of those as well. In our environment-related ones, the Office of the Ombudsman, they're actually out right now, and over the next few days, they are doing what they're calling Silver Invades the Schools. And what they're doing is they are planting a silver thatch palm at every public school on Grand Cayman. They're planting 13 of them, and they chose the number 13 because it's the number of schools, but also they have 13 employees in their office. So sort of each tree is dedicated or committed to one employee. So they're out there doing that right now. The Lions Club of Tropical Gardens are doing Enchanting the Environment, and they're doing lots of different things in the Windsor Park area. But their idea is to show that you can do small things that make a big difference in lots of different environments. So that's happening on Saturday as well. The YMCA, they're going to be very busy this weekend out at the Field of Dreams. They are creating some water cooler cabinets for the Field of Dreams. Anyone who's been there, it's where sports happens, man. Everyone needs to stay hydrated. So they want to make the site even more beautiful and appealing by building these wooden cabinets to hold water coolers. And they will also be painted by a local artist. I believe it's Jason Kennedy as well, who's putting his stamp on those cabinets. And the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman will be going to Barker's Beach for a cleanup on Saturday. And so anyone who lives out in West Bay might want to join them. That's happening too. And then I missed at the Lion Health and Wellness, the Prospect Community Group. They are having a mini wellness expo on Monday evening at the Seafarers Hall with screenings and refreshments and information. And the Prospect Community Group is a very active community and they do lots for each other. So I'm sure they will be out there in full force. But of course, that's open to anyone who wants to attend as well. So there's a whole range of projects that are happening this weekend. Everyone is invited to participate in them, to sign up for them. You simply visit our website, celebratekayman.ky //60acts. And there's a button that says register for a project. And under each one, you just got to do 2 clicks, put in your name, your email, and you're all sorted. And if for some reason you don't get to it over the next couple of days, but you go to the website and you see, oh, this thing is happening out in Savannah or it's happening in West Bay, please just go. Of course, we want your details to make sure we are able to get you in the Unifying Project shirt and cap. But we can get that to you afterward if you aren't able to do it before. And then also want to make sure that you get invited to the appreciation event that's happening as well, that's being kindly hosted by His Excellency the Governor, to say thank you to everyone who's participating in this. So, I mean, there's so much happening this weekend. I'm trying to not think about the fact that we have some clouds bursting above us. I'm hoping that the weather will hold up. But I think for the most part, it's going to be a huge, beautiful showing of community engagement and activity this weekend. And that's ultimately what we want. We want people to act, to serve the community and to transform our country together.
Indeed. Well, let's pause quickly, take a short break. When we come back, continue speaking with Marzita Budden, and we'll tell you more about Sixth Access Service as part of Celebrate Cayman. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
Real estate agents and developers, as well as dealers in precious metals and stones, have until Wednesday, May 29th to register with the Department of Commerce and Investment. The DCI is the agency with responsibility for ensuring real estate agents and developers, as well as dealers in precious metals and stones, are compliant with international obligations relating to anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. DCI urges businesses to register as soon as possible to avoid missing the deadline on May 29th. Registration forms are available from www.dci.gov.ky or the DCI counter at the Government Administration Building. For further details, please contact enforcement@dci.gov.ky.
Keeping cool in Cayman is essential, but can be costly. Making small adjustments to your household can lead to big savings and help protect the environment. Keep your blinds, curtains, doors, and windows closed when it's hot outside. Using a fan instead of AC will use less power and can cost a mere third of air conditioning. And when using a fan, rotate it anti-clockwise, which will blow the cool air downward, saving even more energy and money. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning, and Infrastructure Facebook page for more tips on alternatives to AC and be an energy advocate.
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands and sponsored by One Trade X. Join Money Sense this Thursday, 7:30 a.m. as we interview Rob Tate, CEO and founder of Global Rational Capital, one of Cayman's newest and locally managed investment companies. Listen as we quiz Rob on how he goes about researching companies and deciding what to invest in. Tune in this Thursday, 7:30 a.m. and learn how to improve your investment research processes too. Follow us on Twitter and tweet questions to @MoneySense Radio. Money Sense, the only personal finance radio show in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you with the support of One Trade X.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It's a pleasure to have as our guest Miss Marzita Borden. And when I can see her family looking, going, boy, that child is smart and she's eloquent. Well, Ms. Marzita, you have a good heart of service, and it's a pleasure to sit across from you and chat, and to not only hear the enthusiasm, but to be encouraged by these many projects, not just under the respective themes, but the idea that whether it's a public sector entity, whether it's a private sector grouping, whether it's a small sort of collection of people or it's a formal organized entity, we can make a meaningful impact if we're willing to act.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. The point is for when we see the power of everybody just showing up for an hour or 2 hours, when we see where somebody says, hey, here's something that I've noticed for a while that I think needs to get done, come help me. That spirit of serving the community, working together, collaborating, being engaged, taking action, the seeds that we plant through this sort of initiative will blossom and will grow, because as a community, that's what we need. We are the ones that we have been waiting for, and we can't sit back and expect or think that it's all going to magically happen on its own. I have to take your hand, you have to take mine, she has to take his, he has to take hers, and we have to work together to make these things happen. And it doesn't have to take thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to take hours and hours of time. We just have to pool our resources together, and once there's a will, everything's possible.
As you shared, I'm thinking of a couple of things that perhaps, should help us to be able to see how easy it is to make these connections. People get engaged in activities. So let's say, I don't think it's illegal, but hopefully it's done properly. The partner draw that we see people, group of friends, pool some resources for a period of time in order to help each one maybe acquire some funds to do up something that they need. We look at being formalized in a similar sense with the 100 men, the 100 women that have now become 1,000 men and 10,000 women. But each person giving a small contribution, relatively speaking, added together makes a meaningful impact. And when you think of the notion that someone will talk about pay it forward, well, if we were to doing it today, it'll benefit today. It'll be an example for those to come after to sort of emulate. But think of it from the perspective of these various projects, the many people that are involved, how many hours of community service, and how much, impact, positive impact it can be. The beautified public spaces can be enjoyed by all of us, whether we live in our community or we just happen to be out exercising, riding, or we're driving and we stop and say, wow, I haven't seen this in a long time. This is, it's now appealing. It's an allure to come in. It could mean so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. When you give in circumstances like this, what you get back often far exceeds what you put into it. And that's everything from not just the benefit of the action itself, but the ongoing ripple effects. Because I think about what happens when a community is engaged and is civic-minded and is contributing to the betterment of the community for all. That's a community that's going to be healthier, it's going to be happier, it's going to be safer. And that's good for everybody, right? So it's what you put into these things. Your effort might be small, but compounded over time alongside the collective or the efforts of other people collectively. Yeah. There's no way any one of us could deliver that result on our own.
Something you reminded us of the last time you were here. I mean, literally the last appearance just a few weeks ago. We all probably know, some of us probably read it, some of us probably had a class, or whether it was sociology or some other class, that sort of spoke to it. If we own our communities, if we're involved, actively engaged in the communities, we know our neighbours, we are out, together, picking up the garbage, planting the community gardens, we're doing things. We become sort of aware of the people around us. We put a name in their face. We understand who they are. And it probably becomes easier not only for us to interact with them and help, but becomes more difficult, hopefully, for us to do something egregious that would negatively affect them. And yet, we complain that we no longer know our neighbours well. Have we reached out to try to get to know our neighbours? Do we walk around our neighbourhoods? When we do, if we're not safe, do we acknowledge why? It could be little things that go unchecked.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, this time of year in particular, lots of people, their minds start thinking about, hurricane season, and it's 2-3 days away, and we're seeing some inclement weather, and I'm very hopeful that we don't see any hurricanes or anything this season. But this year is already 15 years since Hurricane Ivan. And I know there's grown people out there who were just too young to remember Hurricane Ivan, but for some of us, we remember Hurricane Ivan very clearly, and that obviously was an event that impacted this community tremendously. And in the weeks and months after that, we saw our community engage and connect in incredible ways. It was, I need, a shovel to do this work in my yard. And the person 3 doors down had a shovel. And it wasn't a question of, do I really want to ask them for the shovel? If they were walking by and saw you needed help, they offered the shovel. They came and they helped you do what you had to do in your yard. It was, you have a car? I have an extra case of water. I mean, of course, that was a barter system, but how many people don't remember cooking and sharing meals together? How many people don't remember getting in the car and driving to the supermarket to get their food together? I'm not saying you have to do that every day, but the point is we shouldn't have our backs against the wall. We shouldn't have ourselves in a situation of need and desperation to support each other and to connect with each other. It doesn't have to take that.
I think it's unfortunate that we have allowed so much to transpire, and we point fingers to blame different things, not just people, just blame without stopping for a second and recognize, are we part of the solution or are we contributing to the problem? The notion that, yes, Hurricane Ivan was that, 15 years ago. But how many of us, as you said, even that were here, that were part of doing what you shared, helping a neighbor, how much recall that and are willing to do that again? But more importantly, how much recognize that there's still people today, whether it's, financial sort of implications of Ivan, perhaps their homes are still not fully, repaired, perhaps their businesses haven't fully recovered, perhaps they themselves, mentally, psychologically, physically, haven't fully recovered. That impact a decade and a half ago is still very much central to some of our psyches right this minute. The rain coming down. Are we still concerned that maybe the roof or the windows are leaking? Are we worried that what if the window or the roofs are leaking and the flood comes in? How do we help our communities?
Yeah. I mean, every time I have the opportunity to speak in these sort of forums, I'm very conscious and mindful to not make it sound as if everything in this community doesn't work. That's not the case at all. One of the things that I am most proud of here in the Cayman Islands is the way that we do give. We do contribute to the community. We have so many nonprofits. We have so many charities. We have an incredible culture of giving financially. Lots of people sign up all the time to give their time, talent, and effort, and I hope that continues, and I think that's fantastic. I think that's the way that, and the reason why so many nationalities on the island can get along, because you meet someone from a country on the other side of the world, and you're side by side together, cleaning up the beach, walking dogs, reading to children. I think that's wonderful, and that's what we need. But I don't ever want to take that for granted either. Yeah. I never want to say, well, you know what, Cayman as a place that gives, everybody gives, we have a sense of community, no one has to do anything about it. We want to continue nurturing that. And the people who did not have the blessing of seeing what happens when community activates and engaged through tragedy or otherwise, for the people who are perhaps new to the community, for the people who have watched it happen but never stepped forward to be a part of it, these are the people that we're also doing this for, so that people have an easy way into being a part of this spirit of community that is rich here in the Cayman Islands, that is strong, and that we want to continue nurturing. So it's about, again, celebrating, yes, this country is celebrating this spirit of giving and community that we have, and celebrating the simple fact that every single one of us, with a little bit of our time and a little bit of our energy, can make a big difference in this community when we work together. All right.
With that, let's pause, take our final break. We'll come back. So, closing thoughts from Ms. Marzito. And then at 1 o'clock after the headline news, Ms. Anaki Brown will be our guest. Got a lot of good, exciting things to share with you when she joins us as well. So, stay tuned for Talk Today.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event, Benzorama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky, or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzorama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush, and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about, because they on sale this month. Dial, teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Ahoy! Pirates Week food and craft vendors reserve your stall starting June 3rd. All food vendors must use biodegradable containers and utensils. And don't forget, a valid food handling certificate must accompany your application. Learn more at piratesweekfestival.com or call 949-5078. There's limited space, so register early starting June 3rd.
Headlines. With the latest headlines. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us as we continue talking about Celebrate Cayman, the 6th Acts of Service. Ms. Marzito Borden joins us. And I can see, Ms. Marzito, this is why Mr. Alfonso Wright has said, with you here, he can just, stay and do the other stuff, because you have it covered. Thank you for doing not only a great job, but for the enthusiasm and passion. It's remarkable what we have in this country.
Thank you for having me on. And for anyone who's just tuning in right now, we're talking about the 60 Acts of Service this weekend, and it's a community service, civic action filled weekend. And if you want to do something good in this community, but you're not quite sure where to start, Celebrate Cayman's 60 Acts of Service is a great place for you to do that. We have a range of projects that are being organised by charities, non-profits, individuals, civic-minded organisations, departments, teams, under a range of areas, everything from environment and ocean, health and wellness, public space recovery, community engagement, arts and culture, religion and spirituality. Any one of these ways, it's happening over the next few days. Some of the projects have already started, although the core of the weekend is the 1st and 2nd of June. Morning, noon, night, evening, afternoon. There's something happening this weekend that I'm sure that everyone who is interested in connecting with your community can get involved in. It's all listed on our website, celebratecayman.ky. There's information on each project. There's a simple button that you click, you put in your name and your email, and you're signed up. Everyone who participates gets a Unifying Project t-shirt and cap and is invited to the appreciation event happening at Government House, obviously kindly hosted by His Excellency the Governor. And we have a very special group of people who are sort of attached to Celebrate Cayman for this project as our citizen journalists. And we've had some people who are assigned to each of these projects, and they're going out there and they're using their talent in a different way by using their phones and their pens and their cameras to capture the highlights of these activities that are happening. And these citizen journalists, they are amateur photographers, they are semi-pro, they are people who are accountants by day and they capture video by night. We have students, they are going out across the islands to canvas these projects and to capture the moment. So there's so many ways to get involved regardless of how much time you have, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, whether you are in East End and want to drive out to West Bay, you're in Georgetown and want to stay close to home. Doesn't matter. There's something for everyone. The projects are there. There's something that appeals, I'm sure, to everyone. You find the project you want, you click to sign up, and you can be a part of the 60 Acts of Service. I guarantee that whatever it is that you put in this weekend, you're going to get something tenfold out of it. If not immediately, certainly in the weeks and months to come, because this is about creating a spirit of community and engagement and giving back to the community. And that's what it's about. So anyone who's listening, we encourage you to connect and visit our website. We also have the projects listed on our Facebook page as well. And Celebrate Cayman through service this weekend. And it's an invitation to everyone, regardless of whether you're living here, you're visiting, you're looking for something to do. If you have little ones, there's projects that are great for children as well, for the elderly. Regardless of what your level of interest is, your time, your availability, Celebrate Cayman 60 Acts of Service has something for everyone. So please visit celebratecayman.ky for info and to sign up.
Well, with that, I recognize that not only will these projects benefit us now and long term, but it'll benefit the individual. As you shared earlier, we're on the cusp of the official start of the hurricane season, and this might be a good way, whether in your own community, to become aware of the things that are happening in the community, some of the people that are involved, and give you a perspective on any other sort of hurricane-related preparation, whether it's shutting up a building, whether it's securing. You get to move around, and it's amazing as I looked over the list of the projects again as you were sharing. Not only the scope of the projects, but the organizations, the people that would come out. And potentially, there's thousands of people here, or thousands of hours that could be sort of deployed over these 60 acts.
Yeah, absolutely. So want to say a huge shout out to KY Eco-Friendly Warriors. That is Be the Difference, the DART team, Central Scranton Committee, Georgetown South MLA Barbara Connolly, MS Foundation, the KCC Rest Home, the Optimist Club of Georgetown, Kiwanis Club of Grand Cayman, the Jamaica Diaspora Cayman Association, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center, the Islam Cayman Community, Leadership Cayman, the Office of the Ombudsman, Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, the YMCA, the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman, and the Prospect Community Group. So these are people who have put forward projects, who are rallying their network around them to participate. You're all invited to participate in these projects. And if you want to know more, see more information, visit our website. But huge thank you to not just these organizations and individuals, not just our citizen journalists who are covering it on the day, but also the Cayman Islands media. We continue to be endlessly grateful to the coverage that we get for all things Celebrate Cayman. We've seen lots of things come out too about the 60 Acts of Service, highlighting the projects, encouraging people to sign up. And again, Celebrate Cayman is for the community, by people from the community, and it would not be possible. And we are grateful for the support that we've gotten for everything since we started a year ago now. And we hope to see many of you out this weekend and over the coming weeks and months as we continue to celebrate Cayman and shift our focus a bit to the Cayman Islands Constitution and the celebration of the 60th anniversary of our very first one, and sort of that milestone moment, us becoming our own country. Whatever opportunity you have to celebrate Cayman, even in your own way, by being kind to each other, by being kind to our highland, to our country. Celebrate Cayman is an idea. It's an ideal. It's a philosophy. It's a belief, and I think you can do that every single day by just being the best person that you can be to our fellow man, to this country. So yeah, please visit our website, celebratecayman.ky, and we hope to see many of you out there together to join in our community and transform our country.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marcita Borden. Celebrate Cayman. You know, this is how we do it, right? Mm-hmm. Enjoy the wonderful weather.
Yes, I will.
You know, if you can, maybe like me, you can avoid getting here wet.
I'm all good in that department. No worries about that.
No worries. I was concerned.
No worries.
All right. Well, Celebrate Cayman is, as you said, not just an act. It's an ideal, a philosophy. We can make it work together. Make it stronger.
Yes.
All the best to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, too.
All right. To our listeners, we're going to pause and we'll take our news headlines. When we come back, Seneca Brown will join us and ask you to stay tuned for Talk Today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event, Benzorama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky, or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzorama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The overall performance of Triple C School was weak. Director of Office of Education Standards, Peter Carpenter, tells Radio Cayman the inspection team, which visited Triple C Private School earlier this month, has made several recommendations to improve the education center of a weak showing during the inspection. Suggestions included raising attainment in English, mathematics, and science in the early years and elementary phases, improving assessment arrangements, improving the curriculum, and improving health, safety, and leadership. The full report is available on the Radio Cayman Facebook page. Good afternoon. afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller has said charging U.S. President Donald Trump with a crime was not an option in his first comments on the Russia inquiry. He reiterated that his report did not exonerate the president and that legal guidelines prevent the indictment of a sitting president. Mr. Mueller did not rule out testifying in Congress, but said he would not give information that was not in his report. 16 people have been charged in Bangladesh over the shocking murder of a teenager who was burned to death after reporting sexual harassment. 19-year-old Nusrat Jaran Rafi was doused with kerosene and set on fire on the roof of her Islamic school on April 6th, days after filing a complaint. The headmaster targeted in the complaint is among those charged. And a court in the Netherlands has banned the Hells Angels biker club because of its culture of violence. The court ruled that the group was a danger to public order and the rule of law. It referred to several violent clashes over the years with rival motor gangs like the Bandidos. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands and sponsored by One Trade X. Join Money Sense this Thursday, 7:30 a.m. as we interview Rob Tate, CEO and founder of Global Rational Capital, one of Cayman's newest and locally managed investment companies. Listen as we quiz Rob on how he goes about researching companies and deciding what to invest in. Tune in this Thursday, 7:30 a.m. and learn how to improve your investment research processes too. Follow us on Twitter and tweet questions to @MoneySense Radio. Money Sense, the only personal finance radio show in the Cayman Islands. Brought to you with the support of One Trade X.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much. And if ever you think of a job that you say, wow, I wish I could do that job, let me know, because this is the kind of job you want. You get to sit not only to learn about people and what they're doing, but to be able to share in their accomplishments and success. To be able to hopefully, through some small way, contribute to the positiveness that is in this community. And a day like today, I have... can I say two young Caymanians, highly intelligent, motivated, first Ms. Marzita and now Ms. Annika Brown, to join us. And I say this with such pride, to know that we have people who are, sort of the soil, who have been able to embrace all that the country has to offer, who epitomize the globalness, the uniqueness, but also the inclusiveness of what is Cayman. I mean, so... Miss Annika, I know your dad would.
Company.
Yeah. Well,
Marzita.
Definitely. And it's a pleasure. I think too much of our time sometimes is spent being vitriolic and divisive. Mm-hmm. We don't often stop and not only smell the roses, but to appreciate the good things in our country. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean all is good, but even the good can be better. But it's not all bad, is it?
No, it certainly isn't.
All right. But I'll make it a little closer to you. Just put it down and let me fix that.
Problem.
And I was so grateful for the opportunity now to have you join us for many different reasons, but to speak, I guess, to the substantive issue of health insurance and your recent appointment as chairman of the Standing Health Insurance Committee.
The Health Insurance Standing Committee.
Yes.
I
always put the...
Don't worry, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of mix the letters up.
Transpose them, right, or somehow.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm dyslexic. So it's the, make sure I get it right now. So it's the Standing Committee, right? The Health Insurance Standing Committee, HISC.
Yes.
Should be HSIC. No, I get it.
Well, what we get confused with often is the Health Insurance Commission, the HIC, because you're just short one letter to become the Health Insurance Standing Committee.
But it's the Health Insurance Standing Committee. And we'll get you to tell us about that and talk about it. But if you wouldn't mind, I mean, I think, especially now that we're nearing graduation, presumably,
yes,
for many of our students, we even have students not only going off to college, but students returning, and they may have studied a particular subject, got a particular qualification or degree, and think this is the career they may be in. They may be right, but they may change. But what a good time to celebrate the successes. And you still, if it's not inappropriate, you're still relatively young, right?
Funny story. Actually, I'm 1 week away from my 20-year high school reunion for John Gray High School. So, it's kind of in the forefront of our minds for my entire year group at this point in time.
Yeah.
But yes, it is.
I won't tell you how many years it's been for me.
I just gave myself away, didn't I?
Well, it depends. Did you graduate when she was 16
or
18? So you got a 2-year window.
That's okay. We'll leave that one right alone.
But then if they look at your father and say, well, she must be really young because he looks young. Then if you look at your mother, they go, definitely she's young.
Oh, yeah, it means they look like my siblings, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that's the case. But the idea that we've go through school here, we get an opportunity, and I say this almost with the same sort of analogy and importance where our seafarers got an education by traveling the world on those ships. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a cruise. They weren't on vacation, but they acquired great knowledge, experience, and expertise. And so with our students, I believe every single student should get a chance to, 1, study abroad for a while, and 2, get seconded, whether it's to another government agency in the UK or elsewhere, whether it's to work with their company in another jurisdiction, because that is good experience. That is important for them in so many ways.
Yes.
But for the clients, at the end of the day, for the organization. Now, with you, I mean, you were sort of starting out, I guess as a lawyer?
I did. I actually, I studied overseas, as you mentioned it. I spent 4 years overall in the United Kingdom and came back home to start a career in law. I qualified as a lawyer here and practiced for a few years. But one of the first clients that I got for myself, one of the first clients I brought into the firm for myself, gave me an offer after a few years to come in and be in-house and also lead their organization. So I've actually been in health insurance now longer than I was in law. I'm coming up on 10 years at Generali and at their office in the Cayman Islands. So it's been an interesting journey, and along the way, I know you've had me visit with you before about things like coaching and art and so on. But, we're all very complicated human beings. And one of the things that has been very valuable for me has been the opportunity to be able to explore wider options as far as being able to serve in this community.
Well, something that should be evident, very obvious to all of us, is that law, for instance, you study to be a lawyer. Hopefully, if you decide to get qualified and called to the bar, that's what you. But in the English system, LLB, the law degree is a first degree. It's just a law degree. It's an important degree. It's a great training, but it's a law degree. You don't have to be a lawyer. You then go through, still the period articles and passing the exams and the like. But even if you're a practicing, attorney, you don't have to remain in the legal profession. You could branch out into healthcare, insurance, into other areas. So I'm hopeful that our students, our parents in our career sort of guidance will say to children, sure, study law, study accounting, get qualified, get the credentials, get the experience, but you don't always, you have to remain in that sector.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And we actually, we have an education part of our subcommittee where we spend a lot of time taking a look at how we can educate the public as well as open up career opportunities for Caymanians, young Caymanians, to take a look at what is possible for you in this industry. And what is interesting about that is almost no one grows up thinking, oh my goodness, I want to be a health insurance professional. It's not one of the things that comes to the front of your mind. I think the only person I've ever heard say that was Mr. Jeff Schofield. Mr. Jeff was born underwriting, right? But But it's an interesting thing because so many of us have come into this by accident, or we've come into it through a roundabout way. It's kind of a broken road that led us into this into this career. And several of us have started out in either the medical industry, in nursing. We have quite a few nurses that are part of this industry. And in my team alone, we have one person who started out in social work, another one two that started out in law, in banking, but ended up in this place where we pool together all of these different, diverse backgrounds into a single purpose that really is centered on service.
Yeah, and that is something that as we chat with you, we will get into the whole notion of what it's done in health insurance standing committee is, and your appointment as chair. But I like how you glossed over one of your former clients gave her a job. If you don't mind, I mean, I know I'm guilty of it. I'm trying to get better. We take compliments publicly. We sort of sing our praises. We don't do that. But can I sing if you're the country manager, all right, for Generali. I'm just a talk show host.
Oh no,
that is a major accomplishment, and we are proud of you.
Thank you.
So, in that capacity, it just shows not just the intellect and aptitude, the resilience, the resolve, the discipline, the dedication, and the dogged determination to rise, to do what needs to be done, so that at the end of the day, you have employees under you, but you have people above who you have to sort of make sure that you butter the bread properly and they are happy with your performance, because everybody's accountable, right?
Well, to be fair, I think, I don't know what they were thinking. I was very young at the time. I was in my mid-20s. And I really believe that my employer took a chance on me. And in the end, everyone was happy, but it could have gone so differently.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm really grateful for has been the opportunity to build a team.
Yeah.
Because when I started in this company, there were really only 2 employees. So country manager of 2 employees really wasn't what it is today, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, the experience of building a team and educating Caymanians, at this point in time, we don't have a single work permit in our office. And to be fair, that is not uncommon in the health insurance industry. That is a very, very Caymanian industry. I think the majority of our teams in Cayman are majority Caymanian, if not 100%. But my team doesn't have a single work permit on our team. And that has been probably the most rewarding part of growing in this company.
Well, something that we're hoping that through this program and having people like you as guests from time to time, I will sometimes, more than likely with permission, but sometimes with a license, get an opportunity to parents that are listening be able to reflect on that guest and to say to the child, well, you're considering studying this, but here are career options. Get your degree in, let's say, accounting, finance, law, economics, all these things, but you can work in these other sectors. And it's important for us to get, those credentials, get those academic sort of qualifications as we need, get the experience. And that work may put you in good state here in this jurisdiction. It may position you to go elsewhere, but it will have, from what I can gather, require you to travel from time to time because of your job, to meet clients, in other places. That's the nature of it.
It is. It certainly is.
So, congrats, man. Very, very proud. Now, as chairman, well, first off, it's the the Health Insurance Standing Committee. What is that? I mean, tell us about it. Let's understand what that is maybe first. Huh?
So the Health Insurance Standing Committee is a part of the Cayman Islands Insurance Association. So the majority of the insurers that are registered by CIMA in Cayman are members of the CIIA, the Cayman Islands Insurance Association. But the Health Insurance Standing Committee is a very, very active subset of that organization. Our standing committee is pretty much a subcommittee that is made up of health insurers all around the island. At this point in time, I think of the 8 licensed insurers on island, 6 are members. 2 of them are relatively new and have yet to establish themselves within the organization. But our Health Insurance Standing Committee at this point in time is incredibly active. We meet on a monthly basis to address concerns that we're facing, common concerns. Of course, we're very, very careful about confidentiality and competition. Let's not forget that. Like, I'm sitting across the table from my competition. But we are also very, very clear on what our purpose is as an organization, which is to present a united forum for clients, members of the community, for the government, for patients and hospitals and providers to be able to interact with a certain amount of ease. Mm-hmm. So if there is a national conversation around healthcare, our standing committee is very much involved. Okay. We also are very much involved with the conversation and the public consultation around the making of law, around anything to do with collecting data. The Health Insurance Commission and CIMA both collect significant amounts of data, and the ESO, the Economics and Statistics Office, collects significant information from our industry, and that is then used to inform the public as to what and the government as to what kinds of decisions to be made in relation to health throughout the country. Okay. Right? That's what the Health Insurance Standing Committee is. I think it's also very important to remember that I didn't create this standing committee. The standing committee is something I came into. It was very much an established part of this industry when I joined almost 10 years ago. Ms. Sita Paltu has been leading the committee for the last 10 years, and with a large amount of grace. She has taught me a lot, really, about how to navigate throughout the difficult conversations that talking about money is difficult, period. You know, sometimes it can make people very uncomfortable. And having that conversation on a national level has been something that I believe that she has navigated with grace and with honesty and integrity. And she has held all of us to a standard and of accountability within the CIIA. The CIIA actually has a code of conduct that all of our members have to sign to keep us within. It really is a quality control, and it is about making sure that we're adhering to professional standards that are recognized not only here but all over the world for our profession. Now, Sita has. I really just want to take 2 seconds and really give her the honor that she deserves, because over the last 10 years, a lot has happened in health. A lot has happened in healthcare in the Cayman Islands when it comes to the legislation. We have new hospitals that weren't here 10 years ago. We have new providers, new types of care. We have a new standard health insurance contract. Behind the scenes, the advocacy for the Caymanian people that our committee has done is often very quiet and not very well heard. But Ms. Paltu has led that conversation on our behalf. I remember coming into this conversation leading up to the law change in 2013, because I would have started in about 2010. And in 2013, when the standard health insurance contract was being changed, we would have meetings where we were looking at what we all agreed was an inadequate standard health insurance contract for the Cayman Islands. We all agreed as an industry, and this was a surprise to me because I was new to this industry, that this was not a safe place for people to be covered on this plan. And we sat down together with the Health Insurance Commission and the Ministry of Health. They had already come to some conclusions as to how to make this better, but we also had a lot of input as to how to improve the standard health insurance contract, and then taking a look at how to manage the cost of it. So Ms. Paltu, I think, needs to be given the honor that she deserves. She's really done an excellent job and served for a phenomenal amount of time on this. Pretty much a decade on this committee. Very, very quietly.
Yes. Well, Ms. Brown, we do have a caller. And we're going to certainly continue talking about it. But let's join our callers. Sure. Aniki Brown is our guest. Good afternoon and welcome. You on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon. Hey, my friend. How are you today?
Okay, and good afternoon to you guests also.
Good afternoon.
I have a question. If I start a health insurance plan and say I started from the time I started working at the age of 18 years old, and I lived to the age of 97 years old. And during that time of my life, I hardly used any of my insurance because of staying healthy as an individual. And is there any type of reward that you all give people, such as giving them back a percentage of the money that they have contributed to their health insurance? Or after the person dies, do you all have anything in place that if the person is willing to, that the money can go to their child or their grandchild? Because I don't think it's fair for an individual to be paying so much money into health insurance and staying healthy and willfully staying healthy just to stay alive longer and to live a healthier and happier life. To be paying so much money and not being rewarded in some way for doing so. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. A question we've heard many times with respect to health insurance.
Yes.
Not life insurance, but health insurance.
Understood.
Okay.
And it's an excellent question, and not an easy one to answer without a full understanding about how health insurance works. So the way that I described it, it's always easier to do this visually for some reason. I'm a very visual person, so I would usually draw something out and kind of walk through it. But if you imagine that the health insurer is in the center, the patient and the member of the health insurance company is on the left-hand side, and the community that we're paying out to, the medical providers, are on the right-hand side. Imagine that we are simply a collection point or a conduit through which you pay your health insurer. So through which you pay your medical bills. If you pull the insurance away, the way that this would look would be very, very different. You have the patient or who would have been the member would have to be paying directly to the doctor, the hospital, etc. In that circumstance, you are only paying for what you're getting. You're paying your doctor as you go to a visit, etc. But if something catastrophic happens to you, it doesn't even have to be hugely catastrophic. It can simply be that you have a very bad year with your asthma, or you have a very difficult year with your diabetes. You're looking easily at $20,000 to $50,000 in claims for that year. That's the kind of cost that you would have to be paying to your doctor directly if you did not have health insurance. And I'm going to get to the answer. I know that that's not the answer to the question that the gentleman's asking. But the way that health insurance works is that we collect from every member in that pool, all of our members that are our clients, the monies that are going to be used to pay claims for that pool for that year. And the way that it works with bigger numbers much better than it does with small numbers. So if you have a group of 5 people and one person gets sick, all of those 5 people are impacted by what they have to put back in the pot, right? But if you're dealing with 20,000 people and you have just standard withdrawals to go to the doctor regularly, people who are keeping themselves well, as the gentleman speaks to, then you're actually looking at a possibility of even reducing the contribution to the pot. So the pot goes up and down based on what is going out. So what we're actually speaking to is what happens with that money when you give it to a health insurer, is that it is not just sitting there, it's actually going out to pay claims, even if you are well. If you are well, there are other people in that community that you belong to that are not well. This year alone, I know that there are several persons in the Cayman Islands who have maxed out $2 million worth of coverage for themselves, the kind of care that they would have needed to stay alive. So what the gentleman who is contributing to that pot is doing is contributing to keeping the entire pool in a state of health, not just to yourself. That's really what the pooling concept of health insurance is. Now, there is an understanding that good health should have some form of reward. In and of itself, it is a reward, don't get me wrong, but I understand what you're saying when you're contributing on a monthly basis. But the reality of how things are working with our funds is that you see health insurance premiums going up. The reason that health insurance premiums go up in the first place is because there is too much coming out And we expect that that will continue to be the rate that's going to go out. And if you add another percentage of inflation, which is constantly the rising cost of healthcare, then you're actually going to have to collect more from the pot the next year. So one of the things that we attempt to do, and some insurers do this, some insurers don't, and it's very difficult to do this on an individual basis. But in a group, if your group is doing really well, you have a wellness program that's working very well, your people are going to their checkups, they're making sure that they're staying on top of their medication, they're compliant, they haven't had any accidents, there's been no drunk driving, and you probably don't have any premature babies. That's an excellent year for a group. If that group does really well that year, there is a possibility that your health insurer will give you a reduction in your premium. And that's the kind of reward that we are able to give. However, on an individual basis, it is very, very difficult to do. And I know that this is a concept that is hard to understand coming out of our history. Because up until about the late 90s, Caymanians access care pretty much for free. I mean, we access care at the Georgetown Hospital and through the clinics throughout the island. Up until the age of 18 especially, I know that children were for free. But then we were starting to, and for free is not a really good way of saying it because someone was paying for it. The government was covering the cost of healthcare for the people of the Cayman Islands. However, our population has changed significantly. Our provision of healthcare has changed as well because as technology develops, as new treatments come into play, people who are ill want to have access to that kind of care. Those things are expensive. So what you see is a development of a country that now has to find other ways to pay for its healthcare. At this point in time, we are less than 50% Caymanian in a population. We are not in a position where the Cayman Islands government can cover the cost of the healthcare of every individual in the way that they could when I was a child, when there's like 26,000 people. You know, like it really was a small population. I remember the year I left primary school, it was 26,000 people. So it was a very different conversation. And there was a different culture around healthcare. People didn't go to the doctor. They didn't want to. They'd go and pull bush and probably go in the sea. You know your grandmother sent you in the sea when you had a rash. Come on, you know this was a story that we used to have. But you know, there were things that, there were only certain things that ended up in front of a healthcare provider. So the culture has changed, the country has changed, and who can actually pay that cost has changed. But the mentality and the understanding that, hey, we actually need to pay something for ourselves now is very difficult to adjust to when you're accustomed to being in a position where, you know, you're provided for.
That sort of mentality and that ethos, perhaps. I mean, we may be able to speak to it better now or later on, but when we come back from a break, let's talk more about it. Let's talk about the standing, the health insurance standing committee and some of the things that will unfold. Yeah. And Nikki Brown is our guest. The phone lines are open. When we come back, we'll ask you to rejoin us.
At Flow, we know that 4 are better than 1. Introducing Flow Quad Play. Packed with the fastest, most reliable broadband, the power and control of Flow Evo TV, Cayman's best mobile experience, and tons of home phone minutes, all in one convenient package from only $199 a month. With 4 plans to choose from, you're sure to find one that fits your needs. It's value, ease, and convenience all on one bill with Cayman's #1 network. Find out why 4 are better than 1 with Flow Quad Play at discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
You know government's responsibility is to create an economic environment where Caymanian businesses can thrive. The cruise industry brings $200 million worth of revenue each year. The cruise berthing facility will protect and grow the cruise industry, providing entrepreneurial opportunities for Caymanians. Looking forward, looking bright. Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory-breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Men, we need your help. We can't do it without you. Right now, here in Cayman, boys are struggling. They need a friend, someone to mentor and guide them. They need you. More than money, they need your time. Just 1 hour a week is all it takes. Big Brothers and Big Sisters need men who are willing to help our boys between the ages of 6 and 16. Please join us for an information session on June 3rd or 17th at 12:30, 4 or 5:30 p.m. For more information, email info@bbbs.ky or call Tracy and Taylor on 326-0610. Men, we need you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, Ms. Annika Brown joins us, the new chairman of the Health Insurance Standing Committee. I want to get more into that, and but we do have another caller. Okay. See that when you get great guests, you get great calls. Good afternoon, welcome. You want to talk today?
Is it Dwayne?
Yes, sir.
All right.
How are you today, my friend?
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your guests.
Good afternoon.
I've been listening. And a couple of questions I need to ask. I don't know if I'm going to get the right answer.
I hope so.
I might just get a mumble and a and a yeah and a Right. So I want to know why they stopped. Okay, how all of a sudden? Sorry, not all of a sudden, but why they stopped the free health care for a child till the 18, right? And then the civil servants salary go up, all right? I want to know that. And I want to know if you had everybody healthy, or if you had certain things that kept everybody healthy, I would like to know how good your business would be if you didn't have to, take care. And don't say that's impossible, because it is possible. And the last question is, when it comes to selling insurance, why it have to be that you're selling it based on like a fear? Like I have to be afraid of dying, or I have to be afraid of getting sick? Because if you listen to the ads, they all sound like something to make you worry. And I have to go buy insurance not to worry. Like, oh, I mustn't worry, I have insurance. If you can answer those 3 questions, be good.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got the questions right. So, Dwayne, just catch me. If I'm going to repeat them, and you tell me if you got it something different. The first question was that I understood was that he wanted to know, why did free healthcare stop for children under the age of 18? Mm-hmm. I don't know whether that related to civil servants, but I wouldn't be able to speak to the civil servants. The second question that I heard was that if everybody was healthy, how would health insurance business go? Mm-hmm. And then the third question, and is why do you sell insurance on the basis of fear? Yeah. Okay, great. So the first question that I heard, why was it that we no longer cover the cost of health care for children under the age of 18? I think I wasn't around when that decision was made. So I'm not really able to speak to the answer as a complete fact, but I'm not going to mumble at you. I'm not going to be able to present this as a fact, but I can imagine, based on what I understand from how insurance works and how healthcare works, and looking at the kinds of claims that we pay out on a daily basis, that I can imagine that what would have happened was the cost of covering children under the age of 18 was significantly higher the more that our population grew. And it wasn't something that we could actually sustain from public coffers without direct taxation if we were going to continue that. Now, children up until the age of 18 have specific kinds of health risks. They're not the highest risk pool. In fact, they're the best risk pool when we really think about it. The types of things we'd be looking at with children would be childhood diseases. You'd be looking at potentially accidents and traumas from at this point in time. I think the hot topic is these young boys on bikes, that kind of conversation, right? And God forbid that this would be the case, but if there were high levels of teenage pregnancy, those would be the higher pieces of risk. But at the time when we were looking as a country, I can imagine when we were looking as a country at how are we going to be able to sustain these costs, one of the things that was decided was that the employer would become responsible for the cost of the healthcare of their employees. So once you take mom out of the system and dad out of the system of coverage by the government, you actually have the opportunity to make sure that they take care of their children as well. So children would have fallen under the requirement for employees to be covered. At this point in time, the law requires that if you are employed in the Cayman Islands and you have children who are not working under the age of 18 or under the age of 30 who are dependent on you,
full-time, yeah,
and you have a dependent spouse who is not full-time employed, you really are required, your employer is required to give them access to health insurance. So I think what they were looking ahead at the time and seeing the rising cost of healthcare and realizing that it was going to be difficult for us to take care of children under the age of 18, as well as civil servants. And civil servants are different because I know them; they are paid for by the Ministry of Health, etc. But we were looking at all of these other groups that were going to be vulnerable and dependent: the indigent, the seafarers, some of the elderly, retiring civil servants. Those types of groups were going to be much more difficult to find a way to cover their costs as they got older. So it was much easier then to shift children under the responsibility of their parents, under the responsibility of their employers. So this is what I imagine happened. The second question that I heard was that if everybody was healthy, how good would health insurance business be? The truth is, it wouldn't be that great, but I would be able to be delivering reductions on an annual basis. If healthy people moved me out of a job, I think every person in the Cayman Islands that works in health insurance, I'd like to think that every person that works in health insurance would be confident to be able to move on and find something else to do. Because the truth is, we are not here to profit off of illness. One of the most difficult things to do is to sit down with somebody who is sick. Take a look at all of the things that are being paid out on their behalf. Show them those accounts and show them how difficult it's going to be for us to cover them in future without raising their rates. So you're sick and you have to actually pay more for your coverage because of the experience of your group. So, or the experience of your health in the last few years. That is not an easy conversation, and it's not one that I think anybody on my team has any comfort in answering, or any of my competitors has any comfort in sitting down and delivering. We are also human beings. We are also paying these fees. I think sometimes people forget that health insurance employees are also paying private health insurance premiums. We are not immune to this. This is not something that is outside of our own understanding. As human beings, we are also having to pay these types of premiums. So when we sit down with a member of one of our groups, or we sit down with an individual who is having an increase, that is not an easy conversation for us to have, because there but for the grace of God goes I. Yeah, and in truth, it might be me next year, right? But one of the challenges that this highlights is that we are not in a position to profit off of illness, which is what I think is a very common misconception. We are not in a position to profit when all of the people on our plan are sick. So let's just go back to my analogy. When we're collecting premium and we fill that pot that we have for the year, and we're going to have to pay out to doctors, if we are having to pay out more than we have collected, that is not a position in which we want to be. That bankrupts our company. And there have been years when our entire industry has suffered loss. There have been years when we have profited and it has balanced out. However, there have been years, I remember I think it was the second year that I was in this position. You could actually see the reports that were published about the industry. Everything was in red. You know, that we have good years and we have bad years. But when you see that we are in the red, it's because our people are sick. So if you see health insurance companies coming into companies and doing wellness checks and health checks and sending in people to talk about how you can eat better, and that is because our company is not going to do better the sicker you are. So this actually takes us to another piece that I think is important. which is that the biggest concern I have for healthcare in Cayman is that costs are out of control. Not just health insurance costs, but health insurance costs come from somewhere. Healthcare costs are out of control.
All right. I want us to delve into that a lot more, but let's pick up this caller.
Okay. I think I missed one of our last
questions,
but I'll come back to the fair advertising.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm coming through. We won't mumble through that one either.
We go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
And good afternoon to your guest.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I just in general, I'm not, addressing your guest as a person. I am speaking in general about insurance company here. So I don't want your guest to take it, I am addressing her company or whoever she presenting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm addressing in general the insurance company in general in Cayman.
Yeah, in which, unless I misunderstand, we're talking about the standing, the health insurance standing committee. She's the recently appointed chairman. So yes, sir.
Yes. That's why I said I am not addressing your guest. I'm speaking in the insurance company.
Right.
In general. So that's why the reason I try to say something about the insurance company, which they collecting money in this country from people, like every employee, the premium, let us say they collecting $80 or $160 or whatever they collecting every month. And they are covering only the young, healthy people in this country. And these companies, they don't want to cover the elderly people, which those people who in need really in the health insurance, and the children, mostly children get sick because of flu or whatever you call it in this country. So in reality, those insurance companies collecting millions of dollars every year, and they are not covering the people really need to be covered in this country. The elderly people. It seems the gap or the bill for the government to carry now and from the public purse. So the government have to pay. And I think those insurance company, it's time now the legislation assembly put them in line, and they need to pay to cover every individual who is live in this island. They need employee. He need to cover his father, mother, wife, son, daughter. They need to start put those insurance company to tax. I mean to cover those people who really in need to be covered. I am being covered in the insurance since 21 years. I remember I go to the doctor 2 times. If I calculate the money I pay for insurance, it's thousands of dollars. And those insurance company rob me thousands of dollars as they robbing, and I call it robbery, because you can't force somebody who's healthy to get insurance, but you are not covering the one really in need to be covered, and that's a robbery and thieving. And I in the term of right, I think the insurance company, if you see car insurance, health insurance, everything insurance in this country is a robbery, and they raise the fee every year, and it seems those sitting in the government, they don't know what is going on.
Right.
And I think that is the picture, the true picture in this country. And anybody tell you different from what I'm telling you, he is lying to you and lying to the general public. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And it tells me on the break, our third question to answer, the medical costs, some of the questions to ask.
Okay.
So, Ms. Brown, we'll get to it when we come back.
Sounds good.
Annika Brown as the chairman of the Health Insurance Standing Committee. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Place household garbage in large bags prior to its placement in a garbage container to avoid spillage during collection. A suitable garbage container must be made of sturdy materials that will allow it to withstand weathering. A tightly fitted cover is also necessary to keep out water and stray animals. Do your part. Keep your surroundings clean. Store household garbage in a suitable garbage container. For more tips on proper waste packaging, please visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know the Port Authority will continue to operate the cargo port and berthing facility when the piers are built? Cruise Line Finance secures berthing rights, not ownership, and will be repaid over time with fees paid by passengers.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
The 18th Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Sunday, June 30th at the Hockwell Theatre, is brought to you by the New Self-Help Community Foundation. This event is proudly sponsored by Logic, Walkers, NCB Group, Thompson Shipping, Frank Hall Homes, Fashion Mart, Caymanian Times, Dr. Steve Tomlinson, A.L. Thompson's, Rich and Connolly, CUC, Cayman Islands National Credit Bureau, Burger King, Automotive Art, Brown's Esso, Fire Extinguisher Pros, and Radio Cayman. Prepaid tickets for the 2019 Talent Exposition of the Arts at the Hockwell Theatre are available at Funky Tanks and Winner Circle Sports for $10 or $15 at the gate.
Men, we need your help. We can't do it without you. Right now, here in Cayman, boys are struggling. They need a friend, someone to mentor and guide them. They need you. More than money, they need your time. Just 1 hour a week is all it takes. Big brothers and big sisters need men who are willing to help our boys between the ages of 6 and 16. Please join us for an information session on June 3rd or 17th at 12:30, 4 or 5:30 p.m. For more information, email info@bbbs.ky or call Tracy Ann Taylor on 326-0610. Men, we need you.
Keeping cool in Cayman is essential, but can be costly. Making small adjustments to your household can lead to big savings and help protect the environment. Keep your blinds, curtains, doors, and windows closed when it's hot outside. Using a fan instead of AC will use less power and can cost a mere third of air conditioning. And when using a fan, rotate it anti-clockwise, which will blow the cool air downward, saving even more energy and money. Visit the Ministry of Commerce, Planning, and Infrastructure Facebook page for more tips on alternatives to AC and be an energy advocate.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Tourism is estimated to contribute 25 to 30% to our GDP, and 80% of our tourism industry comes from cruise. You do the math. It's time to build the piers and protect our cruise tourism industry into the future.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us, and very grateful and very proud of Miss Annika Brown for joining us. She is the newly appointed of the Health Insurance Standing Committee. I want to ask more about that, but you did, and I do apologize for that. You will get into the third answer, the third question the gentleman had asked earlier.
Well, the first thing I think, I love that he asked the question, and just to repeat the question for folks who didn't hear him ask it, was why is it that when you're selling health insurance, what you're dealing with is a lot of fear? And it's a very good question. I'm not able to speak on behalf of everyone in the industry because I have a very different and unique approach to my own health, where fear really is something that I kind of repel. So I understand his concern, but I think the tradition around insurance is that it replaces something that has been lost. That was the beginning of insurance. When insurance first existed hundreds of years ago, it was about, if you lose something, how do you replace it? And what we'll find is that you can't replace health. You can't replace a life. So when health insurance came around in I think it was the late 1800s, early 1900s, when health insurance actually started to be developed, the culture that applied to insurance around replacing a loss. So you talk about the loss that you would need to replace when you're selling something, right? And that's been transferred in a way that is not necessarily helpful all the time. Clearly, whoever's using that as a tactic to sell health insurance is not working on that particular individual. However, there are a lot of people who will buy insurance on the basis of fear. So it's a good question. It's not an easy one to answer, but it really is about the philosophy around health and how you feel about health. If you don't experience fear around those types of things, then it wouldn't work on you. Yeah. But it actually is a tactic that we have seen other people use. But I also didn't want to step over the last caller's concerns about health insurance and the assertion that it is robbery, etc., and that it is not available for people when they are sick. And, I know that this is a common misconception, because the truth of the challenge with health insurance, with any provision of healthcare and any healthcare system in the world, is that we have a bottomless need for human beings who are seeking support to avoid death or delay death as long as possible, avoid discomfort, and avoid pain. Right? That's really what we're in the business of. That's what medicine does. And in that bottomless need, we do not have infinite resources. So the challenge is coming up with a structure that is going to meet the things and prioritizing those needs so that the very important heavy ones are met. So it is not my experience that people who need insurance are not able to get it, or that people who need claims paid don't get it. I was just I actually mentioned that more than one person in my experience in the last 10 years on our portfolio has been so very, very sick that they have used more than $2 million or up to or more than $2 million US in claims. Right? I've seen it happen on more than one occasion where we have been paying out for someone who is in the hospital every other week, every other day, who has been living in a hospital for 3 months at a time. And in those circumstances, it is impossible for that person to pull that money out of their pocket and pay for the care that they are getting. And I myself have seen those claims paid. I myself have needed those claims paid. I've been one of those recipients. I probably wouldn't be alive today if I didn't have health insurance. So there are things there are experiences that color people's perspectives on how this system works. However, from operating within the system for the last 10 years, having survived a serious illness prior to that, I have a very clear understanding that health insurance does work when you need it. There are instances in which the structure and the legislation is not sufficient. There are gaps in our system, but I do believe that we are further along than we were prior to 2013 when the law was changed and health insurance coverage was improved. And I do believe that we are currently working towards continuously improving the system. There are very obvious gaps that if we simply closed them, the system would work better.
Okay. I want to ask about some of those things, because I know you're keen to address maybe some of those issues that are affecting us now or that are being faced by the industry. But just quickly, just to revisit for absolute clarification, the the Health Insurance Standing Committee, is that, as you say, there's a committee of the Cayman Insurance Association?
It is. It actually, it predates the Health Insurance Standing Committee is now, it was formed, I think, in the early 90s. But it started out as CAHIP, the Cayman Islands, the Cayman Association of Health Insurance Providers in the early 90s. And then when the CIIA, the Cayman Insurance Association, was created, this then became a part of the CIIA, right? Okay. So it was formed in the early 90s, and it was led prior to Miss Sita Paltu. I think there was a gentleman by the name of Trevor Stewart who used to head up I think he may have been the first head of the committee. Now,
the Cayman Islands Insurance Association, is it a private association? Or is it a government association? Is it a statutory association?
It's an association of members.
Members
that are all parts of these companies that operate in the Cayman Islands.
The Health Insurance Commission is a government entity.
Yes. So the HISC is not to be confused with our regulator, which is the Health Insurance Commission. And the
HISC, the Health Insurance Standing Committee, is a subcommittee of the CI Insurance Association. I understand this, but I just wanted to help me to make sure that we understand this. You talk about being involved with the national discussions on insurance, health insurance in the country. You're a private body. All the private insurers that are regulated by the Health Insurance Commission sort of have an input and consultation with respect to what's affecting and how the industry is shaped, and sometimes how the laws could be informed.
Yes.
Fair assessment?
Yes, we are very much involved in looking towards solutions to some of the problems that we see in the health insurance and the provision of healthcare and health insurance. Okay. So there are certain gaps that we can see in this system. One of them, and I think at the forefront of our minds, is an understanding and education around health care and around health insurance. So I know that you know this. I mean, you were participating in one of the efforts of the Health Insurance Standing Committee. Up until about last year, there was a monthly talk show on Radio Cayman where we would discuss the issues, and you were the host, where we would talk about these things openly with the community and invite calls on certain parts and certain of the intricacies of health insurance. And one of the things that was just one of the several efforts that we have put in, like our outreach, to connect with the community, to discuss where we are, how the system works, and really to get information and feedback on how we're operating and taking a look at how we can better advocate to make the system better. And some of the things that we've come up with are very, very clear. And we know, and we've been participating with the Ministry of Health in discussions around the care for the elderly, which the last caller did bring up. This is one of those parts of the system where our system is 20 years old, right? And it's been tweaked every couple of years with every change in the law. And it's been improved every step of the way. However, as our population ages, we are coming to understand now that there are certain gaps that need to be closed. So individuals who are retiring off of plans are having difficulties finding coverage. The truth is that should be eliminated now, because standard health insurance contract cannot be refused without very, very clear restrictions that are approved by the HIC. So right now we're starting to look at other ways to meet the needs of the most vulnerable in society. Another very vulnerable group would be the mental health patients who require long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
Our mental health provision in the standard health insurance contract is very limited. I spent the evening yesterday with members of the group Loud Silent Voices, and I think everybody in the room understood that, $25,000 will disappear within a month if you're dealing with the type of care that you need to provide to somebody who is a schizophrenic or who is bipolar. And so there are certain parts of the community that have not been fully taken care of by this system. However, for the vast majority of the community, the system does work. So that tells me that there are gaps that need to be closed. It's not a conversation about throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We've come a long way. Things are working very well. But one of the very clear gaps that I think that needs to be closed is taking a look at what is driving up the cost of health care.
All right. Let's do that when we come back.
Of course.
All right. News break at 2. When we come back, we'll talk about it. And that'll help us to understand the gaps. And we can even, if we get a chance, if not today, certainly with another invitation, national insurance. All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The 19-year-old man who was arrested on Monday, May 27th, regarding an altercation on Eastern Avenue, Georgetown, between a man and a woman who were known to each other, has since been charged with insulting the modesty of a woman, assault by actual bodily harm, common assault, resisting arrest, and assaulting a police officer in the execution of their duties twice. The man is expected to be in court today. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has dismissed a report that she believes her successor as CDU party leader is not up to the job. The claim, which she called nonsense, was made by 2 unidentified officials in a Bloomberg article on Tuesday. Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer will take over as a leader of the CDU, the Christian Democratic Union, next year. A large crowd has marched on the Congress building in the Argentine capital, Buenos Aires, to demand the discriminalization of abortion. Tuesday's march came as a bill was introduced to legalize terminations in the first 14 weeks of pregnancy. A similar bill was defeated at almost the last hurdle last year when senators voted 38-31 against it. Currently, abortion in Argentina is allowed only in cases of rape or if the mother's health is in danger. And chat show host Ellen DeGeneres has spoken about how she was sexually assaulted as a teen by her stepfather. DeGeneres said the abuse took place when she was 15 or 16 after her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. She told interviewer David Letterman that her father told her he's felt a lump in her mother's breast and he needed to feel her breasts. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today in the studio. Ms. Annika Brown joins us as the chair of the Health Insurance Standing Committee. Again, congrats on the appointment.
Thank you.
A lot of work to be added to all the other things you're engaged in. But health insurance, I mean, that's specifically what we're talking about in this instance. Mm-hmm. And for those who have seen, to their minds, perhaps the improvement of the standard health insurance contract, as you shared, in some instances, yes, it's been improved, but can it be better? In time as it evolves, can we get to better coverage for the country and its people?
This is a national conversation that almost every country in the world is having. There has not been an election in the United Kingdom or the United States in which healthcare has not featured. And these are massive countries with resources beyond our imagination available to them to come up with answers. And they still have come up with we've all come up with very different answers. We have a very unique opportunity in our size and with the amount of expertise that is actually available in Cayman. For a tiny little island, we are very, very sophisticated in the expertise and the and the experience that exists in Cayman. So I believe that we have come to a very interesting system that does have a combination of public contribution and private insurance, and a heavily regulated private insurance, which I don't think everyone understands. The Health Insurance Commission keeps a very, very close eye on the conduct of health insurance carriers in the Cayman Islands, and they actually hold us to account. One of the gaps that I think is in the way for us is that the medical community is not held to account in the same way. And we have excellent providers on this island. We have a multitude of options available to us. We have more doctors per square mile on this island than I think any other Caribbean island. And one of the concerns that we do have is that health insurance premiums are under the microscope, but there's not enough understanding that health insurance premiums are driven by healthcare costs. And understanding what is driving up the cost of healthcare, I think, will give us a lot of answers as to where to spend our attention and where to take a look next in creating what is next for the Cayman Islands and for our future. And in particular, I mean, that's one thing. But if we are going to be, if that issue is not addressed, almost nothing else matters that we do in this system. We could create all sorts of designs for health insurance plans. We could regulate how much people have to pay for premiums. But until we actually address the costs that are constantly rising, and just so you know, I mean, this is at a rate of an average 7 or 8% a year.
The cost of healthcare.
The cost of healthcare that is rising, that we are paying. That doesn't even include what our clients are paying in addition to claims. So when you consider that cost is continuously rising, it's a rising tide,
but
right?
What's
the house is flooding, and if we're talking about like how do we design this plan better, we're just moving around furniture in a house that's going underwater. Yeah. So until we can stem that tide, we need to figure out what's going to go on. I mean, it's going to continuously rise until we check until we start to pay attention to what's driving those things.
Do we know what's contributing to that rise in cost of healthcare in this country?
You know, there are lots of possible answers. I think that this is actually something that we as a committee, the Health Insurance Standing Committee, has committed to spending some time on over the next several months. I mean, we have my deputy has also just been appointed, Mr. Lamar Haynes from Brick K, and myself and the members of our team, our entire committee, have committed to sitting down and looking at all of these gaps and what are the drivers of healthcare so that we fully understand, because we are the ones that are going to see it. Like, we're the ones paying those claims, so we know where those claims are going, and we have relationships with every provider that we're paying out to. So we're taking a look at what is driving up this cost, and once we have some answers, some very clear answers, and we suspect that we may know, but the truth is that we can't really provide anything without some form of substantiation. So we're going to sit down and create a working group and put this in front of the Health Insurance Commission and the Ministry of Health once we've completed this process. So we are really taking a very close look as to what's driving up costs.
We've heard concerns expressed by physicians here that they have not been allowed to raise their fees and the like for a period of time. That
is absolutely incorrect.
Okay.
So one piece of misinformation that I have heard on more than one occasion that I would love to just put to bed right now. Standard health insurance fees in the Cayman Islands are the standard health insurance fees that a health insurance provider must pay. Okay? So you go to a doctor for 20 minutes, you go to see your GP for 20 minutes. There is a code for that 20-minute visit to a GP. And with that code, there is an assigned fee. They say that fee is $100. The health insurance provider, when they get a bill for that visit of 20 minutes or whatever the interval is, and we know that it's $100, that is the maximum that check is that we're going to pay out to. The doctor can charge anything that they want. There's nothing stopping a provider from charging over the standard health insurance fees. almost every single time I go to the doctor in Cayman, I am paying more than the standard health insurance fee. I am being charged my co-insurance, and if there's a deductible, I'll be paying my deductible, and after the deductible, there will still be money to be paying out because the provider is not capped by the laws of the Cayman Islands in what they can charge you.
So the health insurance company will pay up to the maximum of the standard health insurance fee.
Correct.
But the provider can charge more. So if it's $200, you have to find $100 out of your pocket. The insurance company will cover the $100.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is where it gets very, very irritating for the health insurance client, which is why I understand the caller that called before and why it feels like robbery. Because yes, you are paying these premiums, but what you don't understand is that we are paying claims and you are being charged more. So and to be fair, there are realities that are being faced by the provider that would motivate them to charge whatever they charge. Like, we're not going to get into the details of every single business and every single business model that every private hospital, whatever it is that they're doing is charging, right? They have a commercial reality that they have to meet.
Right.
However, it's not as transparent as I believe it should be.
Right. You referenced earlier limits, and I think increasingly more of us are starting to pay attention to our insurance or health insurance. And it'll say you have coverage of X dollars, maybe $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, whatever you pay for. In some instances, is that the annual coverage for that amount, and then every year up to $1 million, let's just say, or is that, could it be that you have $1 million over the life of this policy?
So that's a good question. That depends on which insurer and it depends on which plan.
Yeah.
The standard health insurance contract gives you $1 million. I think it's $1 million CI.
Yeah.
As a lifetime maximum. Some insurers would consider that lifetime maximum is portable depending on where you go to the next. So we'd be keeping a track of your maximums. It really depends on which insurer you're going to.
And I appreciate you that, because I think that's where we ought to think. Just make sure that I don't misunderstand. It's going to premise that it's a standard health insurance plan. You have a maximum of $1 million, and this year you spend $10,000. So that comes off.
That comes off
a running balance.
Yep.
$1 million less $10,000. Next year you spend $180,000. So you've gone to $200,000. We got $800,000.
Yep.
And then you may not spend it again for another 5 years.
Yes.
If it is portable, instead of going to the new provider A, moving to B, and having $1 million, you now start out with $800,000. In that instance, that potentially could be how some plans may be.
Yes, that is a potential. That's how the portability language is written. So you get no less coverage and no more coverage when you move over. In reality, not every insurer does that.
Right.
Not every insurer will go back and take out your lifetime maximum when you move over. Right. And that's a good question to ask when you're shopping for insurance.
Well, this is it. We buy a car and we ask about, well, does it have power windows and 15 player CD or whatever. I don't know what they have in these days, Wi-Fi. But are we asking the same things relative to our health insurance coverage?
Yeah, and not only our health insurance coverage, but our health care.
Right.
I think that you make a very good point. I think if there is anything if there's only one message that I leave in the minds of a caller or a listener today, it is to know what you're covered for, how this thing works, and so that you are never ever caught off guard by the way that the process is going to work for you. So you can predict how it's going to be in the future. And it's not something that everybody sits there and thinking about at 3 o'clock in the afternoon while you're at work. You're hale and hearty, your belly full, you're just getting past lunch and you're fighting off sleep. This is not something that you spend a lot of time thinking about until you need it. However, my advice is to anyone who is in that place, that not to take it for granted, and to make sure you know as much as you can.
We understand that, I call them multinational corporations. So those larger corporations that may have many employees across different jurisdictions, may have a presence here, may allow its employees to join the group plan that is international. But I think our laws require that organization that's present here to have a plan that is registered here. And some employees have shared that, well, I can work with ABC company we're one of a million employees, and I pay $10 a month for a good plan. But to buy a similar plan here,
$10 a month is a dream.
Well, I'm just getting your attention.
Yeah, I got it.
You follow.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Now, is that how it works? That employer must take out a plan with one of the registered providers here in order to be compliant.
And actually, it's even wider than that.
Mm-hmm.
In the Cayman Islands health insurance law, the intention behind the law and the way that the law is written is that every human being in the Cayman Islands should be covered.
Every single person.
Every single
birth,
belly button should be covered by some form of insurance. And if you are not eligible for private insurance, in the odd case, because the law has been retuned so many times in the last 10 years around making sure that it is accessible, but every human being needs to be covered. And covered by an approved insurer.
Mm-hmm.
An approved insurer is a very specific term. An approved insurer is an insurer who has been signed off by the Health Insurance Commission and given an approved insurer certificate, allowing them to sell insurance in the Cayman Islands.
And it's regulated by SEMA as well?
It's also regulated by SEMA. So, we're a funny little group because insurers in general and most financial services corporations are regulated by SEMA. SEMA has a licensing process. Mm-hmm. And just like every other financial services provider, we are required to be licensed by SEMA. However, we have an additional watchdog that keeps an eye on how we conduct ourselves in the market. Health is such a critical thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is such an important part of being human. It really is, and recognizing that importance and recognizing the difference of health insurance from all these other financial instruments and how important it is for every human being to have it. There is a separate regulator that also regulates our conduct, which is the Health Insurance Commission, the superintendent of the Health Insurance Commission.
Saniki, we do have a caller join us as well. I really appreciate you, not just your candidness, but your eloquence and the information you share. Let's go to our phones. Welcome, you're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Curious.
Yes, sir.
Of all of the factors that I've heard coming across the table there, or whatever you want to call it, I wonder if there is a factor in there that goes GRD9.
GRD9?
Yeah.
Ms. Aniki, you lost me in that one, sir.
Well,
grade 9?
It's spelled GRWD.
Okay. I was thinking grade. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh. Agreed.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So that's a great question. I struggle with the conversation around greed and healthcare because it shows up in the most inconvenient and inappropriate places. Greed is something that is a human experience, I'm sure, and I know that it exists, and we see it show up in lots of different ways. However, I struggle to equate profit to greed. And the reason for that is this. If you are dealing with, and this is a philosophical conversation, that's really not even a health insurance question, but if we did not exist, if there was not a reason for us to exist, if health insurers were not there to stand in the gap between the patient and their healthcare provider, how would healthcare have developed over the last several decades? Over the last 100 years? The availability of funds to be able to, for doctors to be able to relax and know that they will be paid, not have to chase down individuals, every individual in the village, to make sure that they were able to make a living, has actually given space to providers, healthcare providers, to explore healthcare and develop a lot of the technology and the understanding around medical care provision in the last 100 years. So healthcare has actually played a very big part health insurance has played a very big part in the development of health care. Greed shows up in all sorts of places. I'm sure we have clients who are greedy. I'm sure that there are doctors who are greedy. I'm sure that there are health insurers who are greedy. Greed is not something that you can get rid of as part of the human condition. What you can do is regulate a system and make sure that it works for the purpose that it is supposed to work for. Now, when I separate greed from profit, I think it is important to come back to the point when we were talking about health insurers and the experience of being a health insurance in the Cayman Islands. If we are in a position where we are raising health insurance costs, if we're actually raising health insurance premiums, you should be assured that on your plan last year, we did not make a profit. So there are years when our entire industry is in the red. And there are years when our entire industry is in the black. And there are years when it's a mixed bag. When, some companies are doing better than others. Some are hemorrhaging clients. Some are getting clients. So what I think regulates and supports this industry in its existence is, and in the quality of assurance, is not only the regulation of the Health Insurance Commission, which is very, very active and very, very careful to make sure that we are compliant with the law, but competition. If I slip, and if anybody in my team offers poor customer service and is not there to provide the service that we are here to provide to our clients, you can bet that somebody else on my committee, another insurer, my competition, would be stepping in to take that client from us. So there's, and I hear anything to do with money often attracts the conversation of greed. But if we really follow that rabbit hole down the road, where would our entire financial service industry be?
Sir? Okay. So the caller was... Well, thanks. An interesting caller. Very,
But it's a good question,
yes,
because
yes.
Sometimes it kind of incenses me, because I often say that, listen, if I was going to be making money, I would have stayed in law. If that was, if that was
where there's no conscience, just profit.
Well, no, I'm not.
I'm not going to leave that.
It's even worse when I tell someone that I'm a lawyer that works for a health insurance company.
Ooh.
But if it was really about profit or greed, yeah, you saw that one.
I just saw the picture where,
the devil with four horns. I know.
Let me save you from me. You're going to find a break to take. Yeah. When you come back, let's continue talking. You're such a wonderful, wonderful person to have in the studio. Thank you. All right, when we come back, more talk today.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event, Benzorama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky, or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzorama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
It's a sizzling summer sale at Island Interiors Limited. 3 days only. Sale starts on Thursday, May 30th and ends on Saturday, June 1st. Take up to a whopping 50% off those beautiful rugs. If you need furniture, fabric, lamps, bedspreads, and cushions, drop by Island Interiors and take 20% off those items. Ready to go custom drapes, drapery hardware, and accessories are marked down by 15%. Don't forget to pick up some paintings to jazz up your walls and take 15% off. Also, any new orders placed for drapes or furniture during the sale will receive 15% off. Island Interiors Limited, located at 125 Dorsey Drive, across from the airport post office. Call 949-6262. Sizzling summer sale hours are Thursday and Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. until 4 p.m.
a caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
At Powerhouse Gym, where you feel like home in a multicultural energy environment for all. They are dedicated to helping you achieve your fitness goals. Whether you have decided to get in shape, train for a specific sport, boost your energy levels, or even look your best for a special day. With a variety of sports options, group fitness classes, CrossFit outdoor gym, they provide personal trainers and equipment. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center, offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Serious results, period.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for listening, and especially very, very special thanks to all of our guests who join us. And I do recognize that, lunchtime, you just shared what you say, when you had your belly full. For some of us, this is lunchtime. You haven't had your lunchtime as yet. But thank you for sharing, not just the topic, but the candid nature with which. And as the callers have asked questions, many of us are thinking and feeling the same. And I appreciate them sharing. But I really appreciate you taking it on and sharing with us. Something that you said earlier from the last caller's comment and question in relation to this is philosophical. Is it then that, and I question this, and I wonder if it's maybe part of a national discourse. Like education, is health insurance a public good in that sense? He asks about greed and profit motive and the like. But and now, for those who understand, if a company makes $10 and spends $10, it still made a profit.
Yeah, that actually ties in with a very, very with an international conversation around whether or not health insurance or health coverage is a human right. And it's a tough one because it really depends on the system that your government has chosen to
we talk about political systems.
Political systems decide the approach, but I think the really important thing to consider is that what we have chosen is a universal level of coverage. And I think the person's I can't even attribute this to an individual because this would have been long before my time, but the designers of this system put a lot of thought into the system that we currently have, where the intention is for every human being to have access to healthcare. And the intention is also for not only the government to bear the cost of this, but also for the wider population to accept responsibility as an employer, as an individual, as an entrepreneur for your own coverage. So there's some benefits to that mixed bag that I think then comes into the philosophy. So the philosophy that I adhere to is really, it begins with personal responsibility. As an individual, I am responsible for my experience of life. I am responsible for making choices that are healthy. There are many of us who use that choice, that opportunity, to their detriment. They choose to do things that are not healthy for themselves, etc. So that's the beginning. Then as an employer, and of course I'm sitting here in the role of more than one of these roles, right? So as an employer, it is my responsibility to make my employees, to the time that they're spending in my space, in conducting my work as an employer, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, I am responsible for making sure that they are fit to do so, that they are safe, that they are comfortable, that they have access to the things that are going to keep them healthy in that environment. So I'm responsible for setting the environment. The government is responsible at an even higher level for making sure that the environment of the nation and the stability of the nation then allows for the others to be possible.
Yeah, the quality of life issues that come into play.
So it all trickles down, but it begins at the individual, right? Yeah. So I'm trying to remember where we started with this question. About the philosophy, right? So this is the philosophy that I think that went into the decision-making that created the system that we currently have.
Right.
And in truth, it's Cayman is one of the places where public and private works very, very well together. Something to keep in mind is that Synico, which is our public representative, our public health insurer, is also part of the health insurance standing committee.
All right.
You know, so we sit around the table and look at national issues beyond. And we're not looking at ways to avoid paying claims. We're looking at what are the national issues? How are we tackling costs? How are we combating fraud? Which takes up more time than it really should.
All right. Good caller. Couple of
excellent.
Let's
go for it.
Yeah, Fox is over there, so he doesn't mind. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Yes, good afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Could I say a special hello to your guest?
Good afternoon.
Now, I have been listening for the past hour, totally amazed. I cannot imagine someone so articulate and so well in control of the subject matter as this lady that you have on, Sterling.
Thank you, sir. I sit there in awe.
I am totally in awe.
Yep.
Rarely have I heard anybody, and I mean, I've been living a long time, who was able to, who had such a great knowledge of the subject matter that they were discoursing, and has the ability to analyze everything and understand it. I mean, I'm totally amazed by this lady. She is my queen forever.
Thank you.
Except for the misuse of the reflexive pronoun myself. He has been...
The educators come out.
I tell you why I say that. Because the self-pronouns, the self, myself, yourself, etc., they're what you call reflexive pronouns. And they have to have an antecedent. In other words, there has to be a word which they identify with as went before. Like, I will do it myself.
Yeah.
There's no speak to John or myself. There's no such construction in the syntax of the English language.
It'll be me.
Forgive me, sir.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Forgive me that.
Yeah.
Okay, but except for that, this lady is absolutely amazing. I commend her. What I would like to say, though, that her defense of the industry as a whole might be a tad misplaced because, as far as she knows, well, I have been cheated by Aetna when they covered me at one period of my life. So I know that maybe the overall picture is perfect and the intentions are good with most companies. But I have, as someone who has been cheated by an insurance company, I have a little quarrel with that. But otherwise, I understand that she's talking about the integrity of the industry as a whole, and I appreciate that. But, ma'am, I salute you. You're absolutely the best. I see why you are the boss lady. You are fantastic, out of this world. I take my hat off to you, and I salute you. God bless you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
wow.
you.
And I appreciate that because the caller sort of echoes what I said at the beginning. And we need to celebrate our people. Humility before honor. It's very important, right? But when we have people that are eloquent, intelligent, and are willing, we don't castigate them because they're our own. Can I share with you, Ms. Anaki, maybe 2 or 3 comments that have come in, I say, in written form?
Sure, of course.
It says, greed, if doctors practice the oath, there'll be no need for insurance.
There'll be no need for health care, probably.
Insurance companies are probably more likely to take young, healthy people than the older or the unhealthy. That probably contributes to some of the perceptions of bad customer service and the like, right? I want to invite you back on in capacity as chair, members of your committee as you wish. Certainly when you get to that point that you issue a report, I'll say this publicly, and if it's improper, you chastise me now. But I would say that as a populace, we pay our premiums. We're, as you shared, and I take this from what you shared earlier, as individuals, we need to be the champions for our own healthcare choices.
Yes.
Eat, exercise, sleep, get the right amount of sunshine.
And ask questions.
And ask questions. So
of us and your doctors.
Right. And we're going to be there. So, yes, we elect people who become the politicians who help to formulate policy, and the civil servants are appointed to implement, and the whole. But we as a populace need to be very much involved, informed, engaged, and very active, so that if I can, as you present and follow whatever protocols and whatever the process as you deem it to be as a committee. Forgive me, I've been presenting this morning so much that I forget sometimes that I should save my voice. That's why singers don't sing until they're singing to be paid to sing, right? Use this forum as a means to, inform the public so that we can understand. It is a very challenging, complex issue. It can be vexing and emotive, but if we're willing to be in this together, we might be able to come to some, wonderful resolution.
And thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure to work with you over the years, because I know that you have provided a forum for us to have these discussions, and not just us, but actually other parts of Cayman. This is the place to have difficult conversations on a national level, and I think it's very important to remember that the difficult conversations, on the other side of the difficult conversation is the answer.
Yeah.
It's not for us to avoid distress or for us to avoid discontent. It really is for us to really get to the bottom of why these things exist and what can we do about them if there is an answer. But thank you very much. We'd be more than happy to come back and to have conversations. And it may be actually that we will need some support from the public to actually come to the answers that we need to come to as a nation. But really starting with what I can do in our committee and our team can do in our committee.
And thank you for willing, taking on this role. It's something that has to happen, something that I look at, and I really thank you for sharing what you said about Radio Cayman. Our perception of Radio Cayman is that this is the country's radio station. It should represent the country's voice. Hopefully, on Talk Today, we try to be as impartial, as objective, as professional, as balanced as we can. It's not intended to be anything otherwise. But unfortunately, sometimes things are said, hopefully, even by me, that may inflame some people, but it's never malicious.
Yep.
But when it's received, that it's taken on board constructively, and that we start to move forward together. That barking dog may just bark, but it has teeth. It could bite.
Yep. The closer we get to it.
So let's be mindful of that,
Certainly.
and let's see what we can. But very much appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get to that point. Ms. Anaki, I've said this to you privately and publicly. Very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you for
in so many ways.
And thank you to the previous caller.
Yes,
Kind
indeed.
words.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow is Thursday. I want you to come back for many reasons. We got a chance to speak to Dr. Ian. She's going to be traveling, but another lady who is a nurse who's in the health insurance sector will join us, and it's great to be able to highlight that. Then at 1 o'clock, we got a fine gentleman that used to work with us for a bit. Get a chance to share his experience, to see his physical and mental and all other transformations, and borrow a sort of page or even a paragraph. It may be just a sentence, maybe it just be one word from his sort of continuum progression. Mr. Mario Gray, will be our guest tomorrow. Very excited to have a chat with him, because this is a beautiful place, But recognize too that, as you said, 50% of the population Yeah, it's 50% of the public. I'll leave that political statement just for now. We'll pick it up another time. You'll lead it for us, Miss Anarchy.
Thank you.
Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Take care.